The interesting fact in how we can change that for education in a system like public school education is being able to challenge the way that teachers force feed information. So if you think about knowledge as a food or as a nutrient or as a substance, teachers now give that food. We give that knowledge. We pass it on. We give it in a way that is undesired. So if a student isn't hungry, the teacher doesn't really care. They still give you the food that was needed to be given that day. But if the teacher's role was shifted to recognize that we had an opportunity to basically incentivize the learning from the outside and say, I want this food, I want this knowledge, and you have a chance to shift that, to change it. And so if you have a teacher that is building for an opportunity of discovery, which in the end would create more curiosity, which would then lead to greater wonder, you have a chance to actually change the way that knowledge is accepted by a student. And so if a student shows up and they're hungry for knowledge, then the teacher is providing a chance for that hunger to be satisfied. And so if you have that satisfaction constantly throughout education, you have a growing hunger for knowledge. And this is really important for education because we need internal motivation to accomplish a lot of the things that we're doing in work.
This is the
a lot of the work that we do in the
final
world
destination
can only exist if we are pushing ourselves,
Next
not
stop,
necessarily from an external
Parkland
motivator.
Station.
Money, fame, power, reputation, a lot of those things are satisfactory in that present time, but long term don't satisfy what we're looking for as humans. And so when there's something that can replace that starts from the inside, then a lot of the outside pressures don't paralyze that person in those experiences. So you have an opportunity to challenge that, then teachers could be the person in that place that shifts from external motivators, grades, reputation in school as the class that you're in, or the grade point average that you have, and they shift that to what you crave and desire and what you care about as an individual, then you're preparing people for the world. You're preparing people to walk out from college, from high school, to be able to actually push beyond kind of the wall that is the world. For us to be able to be successful is to push through some of those things, which is really challenging when we're dependent on external motivators. And so the challenge is, how do we actually get that in the classroom? And so I believe the teacher's role in education is to be the creator of discovery. How do we create opportunities for discovery? Because everyone is already coming in with the desire for curiosity. People come into school very early on to be curious about how things work, how the world is, why the world is a certain way versus it being other things. And so if we take that and apply that to creativity, that all people want to be creative,
Final
all people want to make things, all people want to be more creative. There's a lot of opportunities and chances
Lover's
for
Lane
us to be
Station.
creative. And if you took creativity and say, how does someone actually be creative, it is so fundamentally based on skill. You can't have creativity without skill. If you don't master a skill, then you have nothing to actually make new things with. But the challenging part of developing a skill to mastery is that you have to practice. And again, the challenge to practice is it's not rewarding when you're bad. I know that the best example for me, and maybe it's true for some of you, like when you first learned an instrument or when you first learned an art, when you're learning how to draw or learning how to paint or learning how to play the piano, it was not fun. You didn't like it. No one else liked that you were playing because you were terrible at it. When you were trying to play football and you weren't coordinated enough to actually do what you were doing, a lot of those opportunities is what discourages us from continuing. For athletics, we have a really great opportunity because coaches know that everyone starts out pretty bad. In the classroom, we pretend like that's different. And so when we teach creativity, we just have this expectation that everyone should already be creative, that they should be able to come up with original ideas, and they should be really good at something without having practiced it for a long time. You can imagine how silly that would be if you showed up to your first piano practice and your instructor yelled at you for not being good and you didn't know what you were doing. Or you hadn't written your own piece yet because you didn't know what you were doing. So if you took that into the classroom and said, how does that apply to math? How does that apply to English? It's very comparable. And if we want people to make amazing things when they're older, we want them to be experts in their field, we want them to be talented, we want them to be creative workers, we need them to be able to practice. And that internal motivation that we were talking about is what allows the motivation for that practice. So if you have something in other than great people are here, we assume they're going to be great people one day. How do we actually make them into great people?
Now arriving Lover's Lane Station. Doors will open to the right.
That are unsure about what to do. Like, how do we actually continue this? We've just been told our whole lives that we're going to be great, but there hasn't been a desire and practice to actually make those things a reality. So the interesting thing is, if we can replace a lot of our interactions, if we can replace a lot of our environments, we can replace a lot of our systems with the teacher focused on